Distant and mysterious China in ancient times was for Europeans a kind of surprising and mysterious country. This distant country lived according to its customs and traditions, which often were shocking for Europe. This was especially true of various carnal pleasures, which at times were taboo in Europe, and it was, to put it mildly, not accepted to flaunt them. The host wife for the traveler. This shocking custom was practiced in ancient China for some reason. If a traveler stayed in a remote place, an owner could offer his own wife to bed. Firstly, it was believed that in this way travelers bring good luck to the family. And for the poor, giving their wife to a traveler was generally considered even honorable. The second reason was rather simple. It was aimed to dilute the blood, to improve the gene pool. For the sake of justice, it must be said that it was typical not only for ancient China, but also for other sparsely populated places, where incest between relatives led to degeneration and genetic abnormalities. A brothel is a must for a princess. This tradition was not typical, but it's proven to exist. More than 1,000 years ago, Princess Shang Yuyin was born in Song dynasty, who was distinguished by her incredible insatiability in love pleasures. The total number of men who visited the princess is unknown. It is only known for the richest brothel. For the princess, there was always a separate room and a bed, to which 30 men were attached at once. As soon as the king's daughter arrived, all men were obliged to please her with the whole crowd. It is difficult to imagine how this happened, but still, history preserved this curious fact for posterity. Intimacy for the emperor, strictly according to plan. In ancient China, at the emperor's palace, specially trained wise people worked hard preparing plans for the emperor. Some of these plans concerned the closeness of the dearest emperor with his concubines. On a full moon, for example, it was time for a VIP guest to the royal bed. It, of course, was the empress herself. The Chinese believed that on such a night, all forces are conducive to the conception of an heir to the throne. After the official wife received the desired, the next 2 days after the full moon, the most beloved concubines were invited into the emperor's bedroom. And not alone, but 3 every night. And only after that, rest of the harem was allowed to the imperial chambers. Up to 10 women could visit their master at the same time every night. It is difficult to comprehend how emperor himself endured all this, but it is a fact that corruption in the harem flourished. After all, any of the concubines sought to be in bed with their master as often as possible. And for this, a good way was to appease or bribe the wise planners who meticulously formed the emperor's schedule for the month. Source of longevity. Any nobleman, of course, dreamed of living longer, so there were quite a few ways to extend the years of life. In China, for example, it was believed that a night with a virgin was favorable for longevity. The beginning for this tradition was laid more than 2,500 years ago by Yellow Emperor, who believed that by sleeping with 1,000 virgins he could gain immortality. By the way, thanks to this, there is a whole section in Tao practice devoted to intimacy with virgins. There, for example, it is said that if applicant could not reach 1,000, then he will still live for a very long time. According to unofficial data, the great Chinese leader Mao Zedong also actively sought to earn immortality. But as we know, the attempt failed. What is good for a female orgasm is bad for male. This tradition may appeal to modern women, but definitely not to men. The ancient Chinese believed that women's secretions are able to replenish the Jing energy, which charges a man to great deeds. The man himself also spewed the same Qing in the process of ejaculation. But the Chinese believed that the man should spread the orgasm throughout the body, although it is not clear how, but this is a historical fact. Male Jing was considered a vital force, and the more a man splashed out this vitality, the less he had left. Therefore, any caresses of a woman, any games, etc., leading to a female orgasm were considered something good and useful. However, according to Tao, a woman, unlike a man, could spend her Jing without fear of exhaustion. Quote, "Let a woman not be embarrassed to waste her Jing, for the female source of vital energy will never dry up." And indeed it is. Before marriage, relatives on both sides handed young people drawings in which all the processes of intercourse were painted step by step. And of course, premarital education aimed to teach young people what positions would work best. In this regard, education in ancient China was more developed than even in the modern world. Pharmaceuticals. Considering the attitude to intimacy itself, there is nothing surprising in the fact that Chinese were actively engaged in the study and production of a wide variety of stimulants. Drugs and remedies were made on the basis of various herbs as well as sulfur, charcoal, cinnamon, of course ginseng, and seaweed. Also, ancient Chinese pharmacists actively used various extracts from animals, the secretions of the person himself, horns, and even the feces of some species of fauna, which were considered to have strength. Surgery. It may seem incredible, but in ancient China, the practice of increasing the male jade rod was widespread. The donors were criminals, the military, and those who voluntarily assumed the duties of a eunuch. Medical advice. According to the Tao, certain diseases could be cured by closeness in strictly defined postures. And again, the mechanisms and techniques themselves were studied and described by Chinese doctors in the most thorough way. For example, it was believed that for the health and longevity of a man, it is ideal if the partner is half as young. But if the partner is older, then this is really bad and will not end in anything good. Harmony in the battle between yin and yang can be achieved when a man is twice as old as a woman. If a woman is twice as old as a man, he will suffer during intercourse. Imperial amusements. Speaking about the Yellow Emperor, in whose harem there were, accordingly to some sources, 1,200 concubines, one cannot fail to mention the Emperor Sui Yangdi, who lived in the 7th century AD. A son of heaven, built a huge dragon palace, along which he walked accompanied by all the concubines. In the event that passion suddenly flared up, several special pavilions were built along the way where the emperor could let off his steam. Then the emperor decided to make a trip, building a fleet of unprecedented luxury. By the pleasant memories of intimacy during sea rolling, Sui Yangdi, after returning, ordered to build a bumpy road in front of the palace. Later he built a labyrinth, in which beautiful concubines laid in secluded corners, always ready to please their emperor.